You're listening to Reignite, a podcast about the little things. I'm MJ.
And I'm Matt, aka Stormageddon.
In this episode, we're going to run down the list of side quests we've been putting off until now. We'll be covering everything from Project Firewalker to honoring our experience in Mass Effect 1. So, no point in really giving a summary.
Yeah, this is the side quest portion of our adventure through Mass Effect. What's really interesting as I played through them for this episode is I forgot how kind of RPG tropey a lot of the side quests are, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but, you know, a lot of them are very much, besides Firewalker, which was DLC, and still kind of falls into this trap. It was a lot of like, find a thing, do a thing. It does something. Move on to the next thing. Sometimes you get a message or a follow-up or it chains into a couple other missions. Yeah. But for the most part, they feel kind of isolated.
I feel like they exist to give us a greater scope of the world. Like, it doesn't really impact Shepard's story much, but we see aspects of other people's stories.
Yeah, I think it's also there to give you other ways to gain experience and level up. All of that stuff too, you know, because you can play the main story and not do any of the side quests and not hit the level limit for a first-time playthrough. And so I think these quests are also meant to fill that out as well. Just so if there are a few abilities you haven't gotten, you can do these missions and round out that level up.
Speaking of, did you hit the level cap?
Yeah, 30,
okay.
I believe, is the cap.
Yeah, I did too. I just wanted to check.
Yeah, at first, I was getting annoyed because I only had 3 points left. I didn't realize I had hit 30, and I wanted to max out one of my other abilities, which, for those following along at home, you need 4 points for.
Yeah.
And after like 4 missions in a row, I didn't get a level up, and I'm like, what the hell is going on? Are these worth so little experience? And then I looked at my level, and I was like, oh no, I'm 30. I might as well spend these 3 points or respec because I can't go higher than this.
Yeah, I have 1 point left that I can't do anything with.
Yeah, depending on how you level up, you can kind of get shafted a little. Not shafted, but like stuck with points you just can't use.
Before we get into Firewalker, I do want to go over an email that we received from the Elusive Man about Project Overlord.
Yes, please.
You saw this email,
do you have
right?
it? I did. Do you want to read it?
I don't have the full text, but I can get it if you give me 2 seconds.
I mean, it's not necessary. You can just give the gist if you want. Yeah, but I did see it, and I kind of shook my head once I saw it.
So the gist of this email is, I understand why you did what you had to do because, you know, you're an idealist and you're so fluffy and everything, but you delayed our progress. It was so finger-waggy.
Yeah, and what's worse is, like, there was a fake sincerity of, like, I understand why you did it, you know, right? Like, a lot of his other emails when you've disobeyed him or flat out defied him is very angry dad. Like, he's very stern and very aggressive. But this one was a lot softer, but it was definitely not really soft. It was definitely like, I'm going to go easy on you, which, again, like we talked about Overlord, playing this out of order, not within the scope of before the suicide mission, does make all of it feel a little weird because a lot of the pre-generated text and moments are based on if you were still somewhat loyally working for the Elusive Man, and so things like this make it stand out a bit.
Yeah, he's the worst, and I hate him. There's just no getting around it.
If you're playing along at home. No, you're right.
Anyway, I also stopped by the Shadow Broker base a couple of times to kind of max that out.
Oh, I didn't even go back. I mean, I might before we do Arrival, but well, yeah, I didn't go back. I spent all of my time going from planet to planet. We'll get into this more in a little bit, but like going to planet to planet, finding all the missions. I didn't return to Shadowbroker base. I did return to some of the cities though.
I did too.
And when we get to talking about the side quests, there's a mission that I think I broke by doing something out of order by accident.
Uh-oh.
And we'll talk about it because maybe, yeah, like, and I don't know that it matters. It's not definitely a big mission, but it was one of those things where I did a thing and went, oh wait, was I supposed to do that? Shit. So I have a long list. We'll get to it.
I know there is one mission I actively chose not to do. All right, let's start with Firewalker. So go ahead.
I was just going to say, Firewalker, if you do it after Overlord, is when you get the Hammerhead. Yet, in Overlord, the way we played this, the way we mapped it, we already had the Hammerhead. But in the first Firewalker mission that you have to do before the others, because it's like a branching tree, is you discover Project Firewalker and the Hammerhead. So we had it, but we hadn't yet discovered it. So on a meta level, like, I'm just laughing my ass off. I'm like, oh, okay, all right. There might have been a way around this, but I guess not. And so now we are rediscovering a thing we already had, and I just couldn't stop laughing. I thought it was so funny.
Yeah, that's fair. The first mission is really a tutorial on how to use the Hammerhead. Yep. It's more volcanic bullshit. You have to find some missing information. Missing scientists, I think. I don't know what I wrote here. It looks like I wrote missing DIS.
I mean, it's fine. It lends to the fact that these missions are kind of not super interesting. But yeah, I think we were finding missing scientists because we were discovering what happened to this project.
Yes, because they were tracking a Prothean artifact, and they went off the grid.
And so, and it branches out into the different missions that help you find that artifact. I will report back that to John's suggestion, I changed the controls of the Hammerhead to shift being zoom and spacebar being jump. And it made things easier, but I spent the first 20 minutes using the old controls and kept screwing up because I had to retrain myself.
That's funny.
But once I got the hang of it, like, it made a lot more sense. Because in most, I don't know if most games, but for sure in MMORPGs, like, the spacebar is always the jump button. And so, like, logically, I think in a lot of shooters and stuff, it's also the spacebar. So for it to not be mapped that way just seemed odd. The funny thing is, because I had changed the controls, the tutorial doesn't adapt to the new controls. It teaches you the old controls.
That's funny.
Also, which
Can't
was
win,
great.
can
And I was
you?
like, no, definitely not. But yeah, this first mission wasn't super interesting. It was kind of a fetch quest, which unfortunately is what a lot of the side quests boil down to, is either kill these enemies or go get this thing or a horrible mine that I never want to go in ever again with tons of zombies, and we'll get there. But like, this is where Mass Effect leans on the heavy RPG side. The stuff was in Mass Effect 1 as well, but I feel like because we were exploring in the Mako, and it was a lot of exploration with some getting out and doing a thing, it felt more core to the kind of world Mass Effect was building. This structure of side quests feels, while you're right, it does build out the world, does feel a little ham-fisted to the way the rest of the game is. Mm-hmm. Because it just doesn't, nothing in the game supports you going to explore planet to planet unless you decide to do that, or you're hunting for mining. Like, the game never tells you, hey, you should go to random planets. You might find something to do. Like, that just doesn't really happen in an organic way, and so it feels a little disconnected.
Yeah, this first one that we did, it was literally just fly around and collect data. And then that's it. You get some money for it, and that's it.
Yeah, and that's kind of the breadth of the Firewalker stuff in general. I mean, we did a ton of that during Overlord too, like on the way to and from the locations in Overlord. Mm-hmm. We had to stop to find research or packages or minerals or whatever the thing is. And I don't even remember if we talked about it last episode, but the scanning, I don't understand what. I get we're in a hover vehicle, right? And its movement is a little floaty, but there is literally zero reason other to add another skill check to why you kind of shake as you're scanning.
Yeah, I don't get it. You're kind of shifting off and you have to keep yourself on top of the thing. It's annoying.
Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense for why you would have to do that mechanically in this world. Like I get on a meta level that BioWare was like, hey, let's give them some challenge to scanning these things. So if they're in a high pressure situation, maybe they can't scan. And I totally get that, but they never in game explain why that is, whether the vehicle's unstable or it's something to do with the drive. Like they never explained it. It just is, and that's a little frustrating to me because it does break. It feels like a game mechanic, and what Mass Effect does when it's at its best is not make you think of game mechanics and just be in the world.
So after we go through that tutorial, we can then use the hammerhead to find a Prothean site. There are a total of 5 Firewalker missions. The first one is the one that we just did. Then there's collect artifacts, recover data, Geth incursion, and then doing those leads us to a Prothean ruin.
Yep.
And you can do the middle 3 in any order you want.
Yep. Once you do them, then you go to the Prothean, the actual location, right? If I'm remembering correctly.
Yes, you could actually go to the Prothean ruin before doing the third one. I did it, collect artifacts and recover data, and then I got access to the Prothean ruin without doing the Geth incursion, but I did the Geth incursion first because it was there.
Yeah.
I might
That's
as well.
fair. Yeah. Let me consult my notes. Dear listener, you're not having a stroke. I actually took notes.
I was shook. He sent me a picture.
You were
it's
shook.
True.
And I can actually read them, which is saying a lot as well. But so the order I did them in was because I did them interspersed with exploration of planets. So I did the first Project Firewalker mission. Then I did the Geth incursion. Then I did the volcano station. Then I did the Prothean ruins. Okay. And then I did the Firewalker survey sites located. So yeah, that's the order I did it. So I think I did it the same as you. I did the Geth incursion, and then I did the last one. My biggest gripe so far about the Firewalker missions, other than it was additional DLC that was kind of pointless to just give us vehicle sections, is that every mission, even missions where you don't get out of the hammerhead, you pick your squad. Now, on the missions where
why
you get
am I
out,
bothering?
I get it. Right. Like, I understand picking your squad for, like, the 1 or 2 missions where we have to get out and we have to explore a ruin, get the artifact, whatever. Like, that makes sense because we're fighting through an area. But I would say more than half of them, we just pick a squad to ride with us. And they don't really even say anything. Sometimes if you get into, like, a scrape, they'll make a comment. But for the most part, like, there's no reason. So that miffed me a bit. It's just like it's an extra step in the setup of every mission. Why not skip it? It would save a total of like a minute, but it would still save some time for the experience.
Yeah. I mean, they're all missions Shepard can do solo. She doesn't need company in the car while she does this.
No, definitely not. It's like what we talked about with Shadow Broker. Like, you having a third squad member was almost pointless because they don't add anything to the conversation during the car chase. They don't fight in the final battle against the Shadow Broker. Like, it could have just been a 2-person mission and you probably would have been fine. And they could have written into the story why Shepard would go off on their own. It would make perfect sense, right? Especially since Liara is from the first team. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I don't love the Firewalker stuff. I think it's fine, and it came with other DLC. It wasn't on its own, I believe. I think it was packaged with either Kasumi or it was packaged with Overlord. I can't remember. Probably Overlord. Yeah. So it was part of a package, so it's not like you paid extra for it, which is fine. But it just, I don't feel like I don't mind the Hammerhead as a vehicle. I just don't feel like it added anything to the Mass Effect world in the same way admittedly the Mako did to the first game. Like, while I don't like the Mako, it did, those missions and that exploration did add a lot to the game. And these games, and we'll see as we go to Mass Effect 3, get less and less focused on exploration, which is kind of a bummer because I thought that the second game did do exploration okay. I think if it had done some mix of a better vehicle with the exploration for 1, that would be more engaging, but they don't. They just go in the other direction and kind of remove it almost totally in the third game, which is a bummer.
Yeah. Things changed a lot in the third game.
Yep.
The Geth incursion was super disappointing. It was a snow level. You couldn't get too cold or you would die. You had to keep going to temperature data points to build up your temperature. And then you, like, shut something down, and that was it. And that was really dull.
Yeah. Also made not a lot of sense.
Recovered data, you actually get out for that one. It is another activated volcano. I don't care for that shit at all, and I don't remember why.
I mean, with you, it could be any number of things, so, you know.
Use manual controls to locate research base.
Oh, that's right. That's the one where, like, you can't use the radar or whatever because of the temperature.
Yeah,
so
maybe
you have
that's
to just
why.
navigate, and you're like going up and off of ramps and stuff. And so, yeah, that one was about as fun as the rest of them were.
Yeah. And then the hammerhead kept, like, falling short, but with a lot of yelling, I was able to recover. I feel bad for John sitting next to me while I'm going, no, son of a, me, get up, 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 up. Just me the entire time.
I mean, it helps, right? Yelling at the game. It makes you feel
helped
like
me.
you're succeeding.
Collecting artifacts, there were 5 to collect, and you had to fight some Geth for them. The hammerhead handled okay, but seriously, one good hit practically takes you out.
Yeah, and like what really pisses me off is in that area where you're fighting the Geth. Like, so you're usually fighting a Geth Prime, a Walker, and a couple of regular Geth. And the Geth Prime and the regular Geth are fine. They're easy to kill. But what I hated about the Walkers is that their like major biotic blast would follow you. Mm-hmm. And if you dodged it, it would still follow you depending on how you arced your dodge. Like if you kind of came in short, it would go around the back of you. But otherwise, if you went just left or right or back, it just followed you until it hit you, which was super frustrating.
And then the final one was the Prothean Ruin, which had pop-up rocket drones, which I hated.
Oh, they were the worst. They're the ones that like jumped out of the ground as you were trying to find the shield generators, right? Yeah.
So and then annoying. You had to take out the shield generators to take out the main shield. And then we find out what happened to the scientists. Dr. Aloy betrayed the project to the collectors because they threatened his family. And the relic turned out to be a large metallic sphere with an almost liquid surface. And Shepard touches it because Shepard didn't learn shit about Prothean artifacts.
I mean, yeah. I mean, and touches it, and then it shrinks to a portable size with no explanation as to why, other than now you can take it.
Yeah, it pulses, then condenses, and now you have a new shiny for your desk.
Yeah, as someone who is actually replaying the first game again as my FemShep from way back in the day, because I don't have that old save file anymore, so I'm recreating it with the manual labor of playing again. That scene where you approach the relic on Eden Prime, like, every time I play it now, I'm just like, stop it. What are you doing? Don't touch the thing. When in doubt, don't touch the thing.
You're being very bad.
Yeah.
And that's it for Project Firewalker. It was boring. It was not really that interesting. The only thing we get out of it is a little story, and now I feel really sad for Dr. Aloy's family. The reason why he did it was because the collectors said that they would spare his family's colony. I feel sad.
No, yeah. I mean, like, but also you kind of have to dig for that story. It's all text. Like, there's no video,
data pads and stuff like that.
Which is fine. Right, which is fine. I mean, if you're playing an interesting enough game that you want to absorb the lore, plenty of games do that where a lot of the lore is in text, so that's fine. But yeah, overall the missions were less than fascinating. Definitely the least fascinating of all the DLC. I'd say even Zaid's mission was more interesting than this one.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't add much to it.
Before we talk about other missions, I did revisit the Shadow Broker base because with the video archive, it tells you come back for new videos. So I just want to tell you about a couple of other videos.
Okay.
David Anderson gets into a shootout with a Krogan and a Quarian.
Nice.
There's also a video where he punches Udina in the stomach.
Well deserved. And
then Khalisa Al-Jilani, the very punchable journalist that we've interacted with in the past. We see her punched by a Krogan, kicked by a Volus, and then making out with an Asari.
Yikes.
I feel bad that she keeps getting harassed.
I mean, some of it is like I imagine she's not being very couth or kind in those moments that she's being attacked.
No, but she's like that. Let's see. Some other interesting videos. Bailey. There was his sitting, getting drunk by himself. There was him talking with two CSEC officers. And then there's another one where he's walking out of Zakara Cafe with a female officer holding a gun. Wonder what's going on with him. Matriarch Athena, looking at a photo of Liara, attacking a Volus with biotics, and then headbutting a Krogan in front of spectators. Because she's my hero.
She's amazing.
She's so cool. And there's various videos. What was that?
I was just going to say, don't we find out in 3, I guess, spoiler, that she's half Krogan or something? Or am I making that up?
Yes. Yes.
I feel like that.
Her father was Krogan.
Yes. So I guess minor spoiler for Mass Effect 3, but it's
She actually tells
so
you that
sharing it.
She actually tells you that in 2, so it's not a spoiler.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, when you talk to her at the bar, you ask why she's there, and she explains. Oh, that's right. Okay.
They both fought in the Krogan rebellions, her mother and her father. And when it came out many years later, they had like a final battle and neither of them survived. That was one of her stories.
Yeah.
And then we have a couple of videos of our squad mates. Like there's one of Jacob doing sit-ups. There's one of Legion landing on the derelict Reaper and deactivating a drone. There's one of Garrus attacking an Eclipse Merc. There is one of Jack during her escape from the Purgatory prison ship. So they're really cool.
We talked about some of these in the Shadowbroker episode, but a bunch of them are new for sure.
Yeah. So if you have a chance, try and watch them, because while they don't really tell you a whole lot, it gives you an interesting insight to these characters. Like there's Arya observing a car bombing while a Blue Suns mercenary passes by. There is Emily Wong interviewing a Hanar while 2 hover cars are burning behind her. There's Udina watching a stripper in Afterlife.
All awesome stuff, worth watching, for sure.
Udina being gross and leery at an Asari dancer. He's so gross.
I mean, yes. That is a well-established fact about Udina, for sure.
Anyway, now we can continue. I just wanted to talk about some other videos I saw.
Sure. So I guess next we'll talk about the Normandy wreckage. Yep. I had actually done this at some point while I was just playing the game. I don't quite remember when, but I did revisit it to double check where I placed the monument. For those who like to listen but don't actually play the game, the N7 crash site is exactly what it sounds like. It's the Normandy crash site where after the intro of the game happens and Shepard dies, that's where the ship touches down, where it crashes. And so you can walk around this site looking for dog tags, and as you walk around you remember people and locations on the ship. Like you get flashes of images. It's actually really well done.
Yeah. It's very emotional.
Yeah, for sure. Like the one that always gets me is when you get to near the galaxy map where Presley would have been, and you find, I think, his dog tags, and you remember Presley. That one.
You find his data pad.
Oh, his data pad. That's right.
Mm-hmm. I felt like Tally and Garrus should have come with me because they served on the original Normandy. I don't know why I had to do this by myself. I feel like that's sadder.
It is, yeah. So you can only go on your own for this mission. There are also, because I played a bunch of other side missions after this, there are a ton of random missions where you have to go alone, and that's never explained why you have to go alone. And when we get to one of them, I almost raged because of game glitches. But anyway, back to the wreckage. So you wander around on your own with this eerie music playing on a desolate planet where the ship has touched down. You can find the Mako, you can find the galaxy map area, you can find the crew quarters, and as you explore these areas, you kind of have moments. You can get minerals, I think, down here too, a little bit, and it's just Shepard kind of reconciling with the loss and taking a moment for themselves. You can recover your helmet, which was there, which means when your body was recovered, they left your helmet there, which I guess makes sense.
Yeah.
But they didn't leave the rest of your armor there. I don't know. Maybe they had to take your helmet off to confirm it was you. I don't know. Anyway,
It could have fallen off.
That's true. That's true. You did plummet through an atmosphere. Yeah. And then one of the final major things you can do in this mission is you bring a monument with you on the shuttle, and you can place a monument to the Normandy and the original crew. And I think you can choose one of like 3 or 4 locations.
There's like 5 locations.
Oh, is it 5?
Yeah. Okay. There's so many.
And where you choose, I don't think matters for anything other than
it's just
your
a personal preference. As we mentioned, you have to collect 20 dog tags. Did you manage to collect them all?
I did.
Good job. So did I. We found Presley's...
Yeah, I remembered where a ton of them were, too, which I didn't expect to. Like, I pulled it up and I was like, oh, huh. I remembered more of this than I thought. Considering my track record with remembering things in this game, I was impressed with myself.
Good job. Presley's datapad starts off super racist, and then in the end, he says, I am proud to say I would die for any member of this crew, regardless of what world they were born on.
Yeah. It gives you some closure on Presley's arc growing as a person, which is important because, like, the only other spacist, Ashley, she either dies or if you keep her alive, it takes a while to get her to go through that arc.
Yeah.
And so giving Presley that kind of arc, I think, is important, especially since he served as, like, an elder white human on that ship. I assume straight presenting, at least. And so to, like, let him grow and like realize his errors is good and important, and so I appreciate that.
Yeah, and especially someone like him. He lived through the First Contact War. It was only 30 years before the start of Mass Effect 1. I get it if this is hard for you. Like, I'm not going to tolerate it beyond just being like, keep it to yourself, but I get it. You should change.
Yeah.
But I understand your starting point.
Yeah.
I placed the monument near where Caden used to be so I can honor his memory.
That's very kind. I placed it where the hub galaxy map area was. Like the main hallway area.
That's a good one. Oof. Sorry, I got distracted because I was looking for Fandom Corner stuff and I found something that's $600. Oof. That hurt. Anyway.
The wreckage as a mission, I appreciate its existence. I feel like it could have been a cutscene, but I appreciate it. I think some of the discovery is important, but I feel the dog tags is kind of, again, MacGuffin-y, kind of fetch questy, which is fine. It's not a bad mission. I just, it adds something to the story, so I think that's where it succeeds the most. It adds to the finding closure for Shepard, and it's particularly creepy and ominous, which, I mean, a site where so many died makes sense to be creepy and ominous. So,
and where you almost died as well.
Yes. Well, there's no almost about it. You did die.
Yeah.
It just brought you back.
Wow. Next up, I have a shipwreck. This is the one where the mechs came to life.
Yes, I did that one.
Okay, cool. So this one, you land and you're looking at all this wreckage, and you find out that as you progress toward the like objective of the mission, that the mechs came to life in the hull and started self-destructing on their own. And like the ones that didn't self-destruct straight up attacked.
Yep.
And you find out that it could be some virus, and you decide, well, I'm gonna check in on where this ship last was in case it's a virus that originated there or spread there. There were no survivors, and we deactivate the distress beacon.
Yep, in hopes to make sure that no one else gets hurt. And don't we turn off all the mechs too? I can't remember.
Well, you fight your way through all the mechs.
That's true.
There is no turning them off. You turn them off the hard way.
Yeah, exactly. So there are a couple of missions that you can do here that I did through this exploration that have choices, but not a lot. Well, I think only 2 of them actually had choices that make a difference. Mm-hmm. And they're both N7 missions. One is the archaeological dig site, where you discover data about Cerberus that you can either keep for yourself, send to Cerberus, or send to the Alliance. Did you do this mission? Does this sound familiar?
I did, yes. There was a Cerberus agent who was captured and killed, and when you recover the data, your options are to keep it for yourself, send it to Cerberus, or send it to the Alliance.
Yep. And I sent it to the Alliance.
So did I.
Yeah, my initial thought was the Alliance hasn't always been there for me, but also my thought was, but at the end of the day, I am still serving the Alliance and the human military, because at the end of the day, I know Captain Dadderson is back there doing his best, and I want, and I know that he'll receive this, him and not Harkin, Hackett, and I trust them, even if I don't always see eye to eye with them. And so that was my internal logic. Whereas, at this point, it's just fuck Cerberus. So it wasn't going to go to them. But I did think for a minute to keep it for myself. But I was like, we should get this. I
thought about that too, but I talked it out with John a little bit, because I was like, I could, but then what would I do with it?
Yeah.
So I decided to give it to him. Did you want to talk about the other one that was a choice before we talk about anything else?
Yeah, so there's a series of Blue Suns missions that you do that are N7 missions. Like, you discover their base, you find some data, and it ends with a final mission where they're planning to launch Javelin missiles at 2 locations. At a industrial complex where a lot of stuff is made. It's not clear what, but it's like resource management. A spaceport. And then there's a city where the people who work in that industrial area live. And so you can choose to... You only can deactivate one of the missiles, and you have to pick which one. And so I saved the city. I let the industry side blow up, because at the end of the day, they can relocate elsewhere, but they can't relocate their lives if they're dead. Basically.
Like, what good is the economy that the spaceport brings you if you're dead?
Yeah.
There's no point. So I saved them as well. But what I hated about that was when you're looking at the option, it shows it to you in a list that you can scroll up and down. But then beneath that, for me as an Xbox player, it said press A to save one and press B to save the other.
Yeah, it was laid out the same way for me, except I had to click on one or the other at the bottom. But it was in both places as well for me.
So what confused me and what made me have to like double check what I was doing several times was typically you highlight the thing that you want and you hit A.
Yeah.
So why did you do it this way?
Yeah. No, yeah, I had the same thought. I clicked on them up at the top and nothing happened. And then I realized at the bottom of the screen that I had to click on one of them. And I was like, oh, well, which is which, though? Why is it in 2 places? And so, like, I reread it multiple times to make sure I was doing the correct thing that I wanted to do, because it was a little confusing.
Yeah. So I made sure that pressing B was the correct thing to do, and it was. So I saved the residents.
Yep, same.
There was a solo mission that was very annoying.
Is this the one where you were on the ship teetering off the side of the cliff?
Yes.
Okay.
Explore the crashed ship.
Yeah. So this mission, you cannot save. At any point while you're on the ship, it's considered active combat in the way that you're the save option is blacked out. You cannot click it. You are expected to do the entire mission at once. I guess because you can screw up somehow, and so they want it. So if you do screw up, you have to start over. On the PC, this quest is buggy as hell. I spent 30 minutes trying to finish it because, so for those who haven't done this mission, we like to explain what we're doing. I'm looking at you, Alex. You have to explore the ship, and you have to shoot down panels to cover up gaps. You have to walk down these narrow walkways that are like, beams, of this derelict ship just laying about. We've both, MJ and I have discussed at length about hitting glitches where we walk into the air and then we get stuck, or we accidentally climb up onto a piece of the landscape we're not supposed to and get stuck. It happens in 3 different places on this mission, and it can happen it can happen on any of them. And so no matter how carefully I'm walking, I can just get stuck in the air, and that's it. And because I can't save it, I have to start over. It happens on the first beam where you're going down to the main bottom area. It can happen when you're crossing the platform that you've shot down. And then, do you know the final area? Do you remember where you have to click on the MacGuffin to get the data, essentially, before you run for your life? That short beam, I got stuck 10 times trying to cross that one area. And every time I got stuck, I had to start the mission over again. At one point, I wrote in my notes, I just can't complete this mission. I'm moving on. And then I got annoyed, and I was like, no, you know what? F it. I'm going to finish this damn mission. And so, eventually, I was able to get across and complete it. But I spent... How long did it take you to do this mission? 5 minutes?
Yeah. It didn't take me that long. I was just annoyed because I would walk up to a thing, and it would be not the right way, and I'd have to go back.
Yeah. And so with doubling back, maybe it took you 5 minutes. It took me a half hour because I would run the 5 minutes and then I would get stuck somewhere in the air and unable to get unstuck. Typically, if you get stuck floating in the air in a combat scenario with biotic charge, you can sometimes charge out of it. Mm-hmm. But there's no enemies here. There's nothing to move. Also, every time the ship shifted, Shepard would stumble and I jumped every time. And there's no reason to. It's not a jump scare. It's not creepy. But yeah, every time it just made me jump.
It still startles you, yeah.
I hated this mission.
I'm sorry.
And also, BioWare, fix your shit. I'm sorry. I love these games. Anyone who listens to this show has listened this long knows this is my favorite game series of all time. But playing them on the PC... and still Mass Effect 2 being this broken sometimes is infuriating. I get if you're playing it on the Xbox 360 and there's a glitch and it can't be fixed. Xbox has moved on to the Xbox One. Sometimes they can't patch the old games for whatever compatibility reason. I get that to a degree, but this is on the goddamn PC on Origin, which is BioWare and EA's platform. There is zero reason to not patch these broken things that when I Google, I can find in seconds because they're persistent problems that are not just with me. It's absolutely infuriating and makes me not want to play these games, which is a bummer because I love these games. God help us if they ever re-release these with an HD facelift on modern consoles. Let's pray they get rid of all of these bugs. Because as I recall, MJ, you've experienced a ton of them, right? Too. Not as many as me, but you've still experienced a bunch.
Yeah, a few. I got stuck in that fountain while trying to fight the Spectre in Lair of the Shadow Broker.
I remember that, yeah.
That was annoying.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm done with my rant.
Okay.
We can move on.
I'm sorry that it was annoying.
It's fine. It's just, I think what really gets me is that it wasn't a hard mission. This was literally, you have to walk from point A to point B.
My main problem was when I started, it was in the very beginning. I couldn't figure out where to go because I explored all the paths available to me. John told me to look up and shoot.
Yeah.
Like, there was a thing to shoot, but it wasn't marked that you could shoot it.
It's not until you put your gun crosshairs right over it does it get that little orange box that breakable things get. Yeah. But yeah, it doesn't lead you to understand that at all.
It was very frustrating, and I didn't like it.
Yeah, no, it drove me absolutely bonkers. So we are in agreement there.
But yeah, so that was that. You got me all out of order here. We talked about this. We talked about this. We talked about that. We talked about this shipwreck. We talked about this. Okay, so a couple of things that we glossed over. When we talked about that original shipwreck, the one where the mechs came to life.
Yep.
We had to go then to Jarhi Station, where we found out that the VI got infected and killed everyone on the station and kept threatening us.
Oh my god. That mission, that's like something out of Twin Peaks. I actually really like that mission because it's just so bizarre in the best ways that like moments in Overlord were bizarre. So I actually really appreciated that mission.
This poor VI keeps threatening us and keeps telling us, "You're an intruder. I'm gonna do something," and then just doesn't do anything at all.
Yeah.
I felt bad for it a little bit. And then we found out that the ship that went down came from a production line. So the mechs that it was carrying carried the virus to this station, and then that's why everything went to hell. So we had to go back to the production line and make sure that that was taken care of. And that one was hilarious because there was a recall on the obedience processor and all the mechs kept saying things like, "Please reconsider your aggressive attitude."
Yeah, it was pretty good.
We had a little bit of a maze, and then when we got through to the end, we initiate the shutdown, which causes a self-destruct.
Yep, to blow them all up.
Let's see. There was a magnetic shield. We had to restore the magnetic shield to protect a colony. And then the colonists paid us.
Yeah, which just seems weird. Also, that mission was like anticlimactic. Like they made such a big deal about you reactivating the shield, and it looked really cool. Like what you did, they zoomed the camera way out in a very cinematic way so you could see this giant shield re-engage. But like the mission itself was kind of a nothing mission.
Yeah, it was boring. But once we did it, we saved a whole bunch of people, and I felt bad that they paid us because I would have been like, "No, keep your money. You didn't ask me. Why are you giving this to me? Stop it."
Did you do the N7 dig site mission where you get to walk a mech like a dog, essentially?
Yes, I did. I felt so sad when my little mech friend died.
Yeah. So this mission, it's just an excuse to give you resources. But the way you do it is you read this data pad that says like all of Bedrock's really hard. You can't get through it. You need an active mech, and there are heavy batteries that will help you operate it. And so you essentially just keep grabbing batteries in these locations to put in this mech that then activates, walks for a little while, shuts down, you put another battery in, keeps walking until it gets to like closed in mines, and then shoots them and blows them up. And when you get to the final part of the walk, a little walkabout with your pet mech, once you get to the end, after it's finished its job, it just self-destructs and blows up. But it blows up one gun at a time. Like a gun blows up another gun, then its arms, and then its body, and then it all blows up. And it's very sad.
It was so sad. My poor little mech friend. My little mech friend and me.
That dig site, however, doesn't even compare to the abandoned mine that I just wanted to fly away and light on fire.
Oh, yeah.
There's an N7 mission called Abandoned Mine where you go to find out why this mine went silent. And when you get there, it's got the classic moaning and groaning of familiar husk sounds and literally waves and waves and waves and waves of husks until you end the mission by essentially blowing it up.
Yeah.
They don't stop coming, and I forgot that, and so I died several times just trying to kill them all until I realized, oh, I can't. Gotta blow this place up.
My problem was I couldn't figure out where to go to blow it up. So they kept swarming me while I was trying to see. And I couldn't see because they kept swarming me. I do like that someone left behind a data pad that said, if you're reading this, get the hell out of this place now.
Yeah.
And it turned out to be Reaper Tech.
Yeah, of course it did. I mean, that's not surprising to me at all.
Let's see. I have a note here saying Mercs being Mercs.
Yeah, well, because there was the Blood Pack mission where you just had to kill the Blood Pack, and there was I think 2 or 3 missions where they were running experiments, and so you kill 2 big name Krogan Blood Pack members whose names I've already forgotten because they are not integral to the story at all.
Oh, I wrote them down. But before I talk about them, one of the dig site missions, there's a Prothean video log that hits Shepard again, but there's absolutely no new information. Why did you do this?
Yeah, it's the same flashback that you see at the end of 1 when it's clearer. But yeah, it just reactivates that same memory for no reason. There's no narrative purpose and they don't explain it. I remember that too. I was just kind of oh, okay. Are we good? All right. It was very weird.
Yeah. There was a freighter that needed to be rescued from Blue Suns. That was kind of interesting in terms of combat because there were levels that you had to go through and you had to recover data.
Precious data. It's always data.
It's always data. Let's see. We talked about the abandoned.
Oh, did you do the Quarian crash site?
Quarian crash.
That's the one where
Is that the one where you disable the Geth device?
No, that's the one where you land and there's an injured Quarian and you have to fight off packs of Varen until the shuttle arrives and then get her on the shuttle.
That sounds familiar, but I don't have that in my notes.
Okay. I did that one, but it literally was a 5-minute mission. You just had to fight waves and waves of Varen until you could leave.
That sounds familiar, and I think I did do that, but I don't remember when.
Okay.
I have disabled Geth device, where you land in a yellow haze that completely obscures your vision. You have to just keep pressing on.
Sounds familiar, but I don't have notes on that one. Maybe I did that already.
You just fight through waves of Geth and then disable the device at the end. It's not anything to write home about.
Yeah.
See, there was disable false signal because the Blue Suns kept luring ships out to them. Mm-hmm. This one made me sad because there was an audio recording of someone saying, I just signed on with the Blue Suns to take out some vigilante on Omega. I was like, oh no! I definitely killed you. I'm so sorry.
I mean, are you though?
I'm a little sorry.
Okay, fair enough.
Anyway, I overloaded their distress beacon. We talked about that. See, and then there's a bunch of blood pack stuff.
Yeah, which was like there were tons of data pads, so there was clearly narrative to this, but it didn't seem to matter very much. But you end up killing 2 of the major blood pack generals who were running experiments on Vorcha and stuff.
No, they weren't running experiments on Vorcha. They were using Vorcha to mine for stuff.
Oh, that's right. Sorry, I'm confusing it with something else.
Yeah, they were using Vorcha as day laborers, and
That's right.
Salamule kept begging for more because all of his Vorcha were dying. And then we hit a planet that had a bunch of Clixin who took out all of the Blood Pack. So yeah, we took out both of those Blood Pack generals.
Oh yeah, there was the one mission where you're like turning the beacons on that are sending signals to follow in the clouds, and you're fighting
which was kind of interesting.
Space crabs.
Oh god, I hate the Clixin. They're so creepy.
Space crabs that explode when you kill them for no reason. Literally never explained.
Well, alien physiology.
Sure.
Or something. I don't know. I didn't bring Morden. Morden probably would have told me.
That's true. That's another thing I wanted to talk about with the side quests in general is... So I tried to bring different people every time. There were probably some overlap, but like I took this as an opportunity to spend more time with my crewmates. It barely matters.
It
like
doesn't.
One-off one-liners. Like, you know, usually yelling their battle phrases or like, oh, we're trapped, or oh, we better move forward. Like, none of it was interesting at all. They don't really comment. There's no really conferring with your teammates moments in any of these missions. And so that's a bit of a disappointment.
Yeah, for the first few, I always brought Garrus and Tally because they're my buds and I can count on them to watch my back. But then Tally started dying a lot, so I figured, let me give you a break. And I started bringing other people. Like, I brought Legion for anything that was Geth-related. I brought Thane for a couple.
Yeah, none of it really mattered. Like, there was nothing super engaging about bringing different people. I just did it anyway, just to change it up. But a lot of it became kind of rote about halfway through.
Mm-hmm. I mean, nothing super interesting.
No. And I mean, that's kind of the point a little bit. Like, this is a classic RPG trope, is the side quests that just give you experience and money and resources. Like, every game has them. Probably the reason they're super rote to me is because I waited till the end to do them all. And, like, that's kind of how we structured this. But typically, I'm sure I would have done them over the course of the game to gain more resources instead of just doing a resource focus right before the end of the game. And so the way that they're laid out, it would make more sense. Honestly, when I go back to Mass Effect 2 with my Rain Shepherd playthrough, I'm going to try and do Shadow Broker early to see if having the resources and having an excuse to go to the planets more. Because a lot of the planets that I went to that had an anomaly also had resources from the Shadow Broker. So I think that might change the pace up a bit. These are not designed to be done all at once like I did them. That makes it very boring. They're designed to be interspersed throughout the mission to give you the resources to keep playing the game.
Yeah, well.
It is what it is.
You did what we had to do.
Yep, it's all in the name of you, good listeners.
So that's really it for the side missions. I kind of went over all my notes. If we missed a mission, let us know.
Yeah, I'm sure there's ones we haven't talked about, but like, if there's one that really stands out to you that you can't believe we didn't talk about, please tell us. But I find that as a highly unlikely thing.
It's true.
I will also post a photo of my notes in the Discord when this episode comes out.
So people can
They look
believe
like
you.
the writings of a madman, but they are what they are.
I mean, I do this all the time. Anyway. So I guess next up is Fandom Corner.
Fandom Corner.
Fandom Corner. Maybe Brett Eagleston can come up with some theme music for Fandom Corner.
Ugh, just give me more to edit. No, please. Like, it's just another thing I'll have to put in.
I'll write my own Fandom Corner theme music.
I'm going to make you start editing the show.
It'll just be me going, Fandom Corner, Fandom Corner. I find all the things you want to buy.
It should be, I find all the things I want to buy is the actual lyric, I think.
mean, it's true.
Yeah, it's funny. Shout out to the Infinity podcast, which is Rachel Shank's other podcast. Like, every time they do a new segment, she sings a thing, and then eventually they produce it, or a fan will produce a theme song for it that then they have to edit in. And I'm like, that's so fun to listen to. I never want to do that.
Well, I did a lot of scrolling through Etsy today, and not only did I find lots of things that I want to buy, I found something that John's going to want to buy. I did not put this in our Google Doc, but I'm going to send it to you right now, just as an honorable mention for Fandom Corner.
Okay.
It is an N7 Paladin shield.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I've seen this.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
I want that because I already have an Omniblade that my wonderful co-host bought me. Like, I want it. And then I need an N7 hoodie, and then I've got Shepard cosplay down.
Yep.
Literally
well, speaking of Shepard hoodie, you could get a Shepard varsity jacket.
I could. Are we moving on to Etsy jacket designs?
Maybe.
I was about that now.
So, Etsy jacket design, they hand make. Well, they say that they hand make all sorts of jackets. They're located. Doesn't say where they're located. I thought it did.
LA.
Oh, Los Angeles. They're located in Los Angeles. They have 3 Mass Effect designs. An N7 for femme presenting bodies, an N7 for mask presenting bodies, and an Aria cosplay jacket.
Yeah, like, I could never wear it, but fucking hell, I would. Like, I love that jacket. It looks so awesome.
I kind of want it.
It's really good.
It's amazing. It looks so cool. And with my blue hair, I can cosplay any Asari I want.
That's true.
It's fine.
Yeah, I love the men's N7 jacket. It looks really good. Also the black men's N7 shirt that mimics the hoodie design is really nice. I like that too. That I think that looks like something I could almost just wear. Like, not even cosplaying. The price is a little steep for the shirt. I feel like if I was going to get the shirt, I'd just buy the jacket because it's only like an additional.
Yeah, that's why I didn't even mention
$50.
the shirt. The shirt's $120. That's insane.
It's a lot. But everything looks really good. I think that they're of a good quality. They look really highly detailed, and definitely something worth checking out. We'll definitely include the link in the show notes.
The N7 jacket reminds me of John's Captain America jacket that he has. Mm-hmm. So it looks to be about the same. And it comes in regular leather, and it also comes in vegan leather.
Oh, so, cool. That's great.
If you are opposed to leather, that is an option. I found lots of things that I want. Like, I found a Volus pendant. You can wear a little Volus necklace.
I do want to talk about the other thing that you found, which is absolutely adorable. On Etsy, you found a collection of Mass Effect charms.
Yes,
made
the
by
acrylic
Moskier.
Charms.
They are adorable. They are SD kind of anime style, like small characters with large heads.
Yeah, they're pretty chibi.
And can you guess which one I want the most?
Is it Grunt in a little inner tube?
It's Beach Day with Grunt and Shepard. It's a red-headed femme shep, which is my shep, with Grunt in an inner tube in the ocean. It's perfect, and I need it.
There's a little Garrus in a rain jacket with an umbrella looking at some ducklings, and it's completely sold out, and I'm really upset about it.
They are all very cute. We will put them in the show notes as well. Definitely worth checking out. I love when creators like create hypotheticals using characters. Like, having actual scenes recreated from the games is fine, but I like when they kind of use their imagination. Like, this is something this character would do. Like Liara under the sea with sea creatures, scuba diving, snorkeling. Yeah,
this series is called Welcome to Earth. So
Amazing.
It's showing what the alien counterparts would be doing on Earth. And it has Morden holding a magnifying glass up to some deer, which is really cute.
Yeah. Has Edie building a Volus snowman.
There is a Mass Effect 3 character hanging out with a bunch of predator animals, which I think is really funny.
Oh, yes. That character we can't talk about yet because it's a spoiler.
Yep.
The character's existence is a damn spoiler. And then there's one of Rex cannonballing into the ocean with Liara and Morden, which is amazing. They're great. I love them. Definitely check them out. And they're only, is it $12 a piece or $12 for the set?
$12 a piece. Because they're like 2.5 inches. They're pretty big.
Literally, Garrus is the only one that's sold
I
out.
know. I'm so upset.
A set of 5 is only $50, so that's not bad.
Yeah. The Legion one is really cute.
Although his cod piece makes me a little uncomfortable, I'll be honest.
That's what he looks like, Matt.
I know. I'm just saying. Just saying.
All right. But yes, these acrylic charms are really cute.
As always, I'll include links to both of our Fandom Corner recommendations in the show notes. Shall we talk about what we're doing next?
Yeah, our next episode is going to be Arrival. It is our final Mass Effect 2 mission.
It is the longest DLC where you play solo as Shepard. It's actually a really, really great DLC. I'm very excited to talk about it. And it sets the stage for what's coming in Mass Effect 3. So it'll be fun to kind of talk about that a little bit. And then the next episode after that is our postmortem on the game as a whole.
Yep.
We're rapidly reaching the end of the season. I'm excited to move on to Mass Effect 3, a game that I think I remember less than any of them because I've only beaten it once or twice. I know that's not saying much. And we do have a special surprise. We're also planning for the tail end of the season, and there'll be more details on that soon. I'm
very excited. If you like what you heard here, follow us on social media. We're at ReignitePod on Twitter, Tumblr, and Instagram, Facebook.com/ReignitePod, or you can send us an email at reignitepod@gmail.com. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe on your favorite podcatcher. It helps us get seen so other people can find us.
We're members of the Certain POV network. I'm going to take that again and make a note. What number am I at? 103, blah, 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 nonsense, 103. Matt, please edit this. You dummy. Okay. We're members of the Certain Point of View network. Visit certainpov.com to find more nerdy podcasts, each with a unique point of view. You can also find a permanent invite to our Discord server on that website as well. Join in the conversation. We love chatting with you. We've had a bunch of folks, as of when we're recording this, recently join in the conversation. That's been really great. So come hang out with us there and check out all our other shows.
We also do some other things that happen to be on and off the network. I have 2 other podcasts called Circle of Friendship, a podcast about the Circle of Magic by Tamara Pierce, where we discuss friendship, magic, and Briar Moss. And I also have the Rob Thomas, no, not that one, Robcast, where we discuss the works of Rob Thomas. No, not that one. Matt, what do you do?
I have several podcasts on and off the network as well. The big ones, of course, are this one, which you're already listening to, and Screen Snark, which I do with Rachel Quirky Shank, and Fun and Games Podcast, which I do with Jeff Moonen. I also do Autographs, which is an interview series on my website, crashcourse.com. I also have been working on Creative Quarantine, which is an incredible daily live stream and then next day audio podcast that Angelique Roche is doing, where she interviews a new guest. As of when we're recording, although it'll already be out by the time you hear this, she's doing an episode with Samus, which I'm really excited about. Go check that out. AngeliqueRoche.com/Creative Quarantine. And then I do streaming as well. I've been streaming a lot of Shadow of the Colossus, although I'll probably be done with that by the time this airs, so I guess never mind. But you can go to twitch.tv/DJ_Stormageddon for more information on that.
Thank you to Red Spinks for our It's Okay to Be a Marshmallow t-shirt on Redbubble featuring our favorite marshmallow, Kaden Alenko. You can find more of their work at Chaos Does Art on Instagram. We'd also like to thank Kay Sakin for developing more amazing shirt designs you can find through certainpov.com or Teespring, and David Boyle for designing our logo, which you can also get on a shirt through Redbubble. Finally, thank you to Dan Bull for letting us use the Mass Effect rap for our theme music. I'm MJ.
And I'm Matt, a.k.a. Stormageddon.
We should go.
You're listening to Reignite. I'm Commander Shepard, and this is my favorite podcast on the Citadel.
Video games are a unique medium.
They can tell stories,
immerse us in strange, fantastic worlds,
blur the very boundaries of our reality.
But at the end of the day, video games are fun. Whatever fun is to you.
I'm Jeff Moonen.
And I am Matt, a.k.a. Stormageddon.
And on Fun and Games, we talk about the history, trends, and community of video games.
It's a celebration of all the games we play and all the fun we find within them.
And there's so many more games out there. So we hope you'll share in that conversation with us.
Fun and Games podcast with Matt and Jeff. Find us on certainpov.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
And happy gaming.